Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Well, hello and welcome or welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast with me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from, I'm going with a sweltering Oregon this week. It's going to be high 80s all week, on its way to 91 next weekend, and I am here for it. I love warm weather, so this is about perfect for me, about the right level of hot, sweltering for some here in Oregon, but I am going to love it. So welcome back to the show. And today I want to talk about something that shows up a lot in the summer. And I know it shows up because I hear about it all the time. I experience it myself. And it's this moment where someone says, I was doing really well and then we went away for the weekend. Or I had a good plan and then family came to visit. Or everything was fine until I went on vacation. And honestly, like I said, I understand it. Makes perfect sense. And I understand it from when I work with people and my own lived experience. Because changing your drinking habits at home is one thing. Changing your drinking habits when your whole routine disappears is something else entirely. At home, even if you still have urges and old patterns and those familiar thoughts that pop up around drinking, there is usually some structure helping you. You know what your evening looks like. You know what time you usually eat. You know what your kitchen looks like. You know the rhythm of your day. And then you go away for a few days and suddenly that rhythm is gone. Dinner's later, sleep's different. Somebody has a cooler open in the middle of the afternoon and you're standing there not really hungry, but not really nourished either. And someone says, do you want one? And you think, okay. And before you've even really checked in with yourself, your brain offers the thought, it's vacation. It's okay. Let's be honest. That thought can do a lot of work. It's vacation. It's okay. It can sound innocent. It can sound fun. It can sound like freedom. But depending on how you use it, it can also quietly mean, I don't need to think about this right now. It can mean, this doesn't really count. I'll just deal with my goals later. And that's what I want to call vacation brain. Vacation brain is the part of your brain that believes stepping out of your normal routine means stepping out of your intentional choices too. It's the part that says, can we please just not think about this right now? We're supposed to be relaxing. And I get it. I really do. Nobody wants vacation to feel like another job. You don't want to sit there by the lake or on the patio thinking, well, let me optimize my habit change strategy right now. That is not the vibe we're going for. So I want to say this clearly right now. It's not about being rigid on vacation. It's not about making every trip alcohol free. And it's not about being the person who can't relax because you're too busy managing yourself. This is about something much more useful. It's about learning how to stay connected to yourself when your context changes. That's the skill. Because if you only know how to drink less when your routine is perfect, then real life is always going to feel like a threat to your progress. And we all know real life is not perfect. Real life includes weekends away, visitors, travel days, business trips. If anybody's doing mostly dry July, they know that my business trip that I went on last week was really a part of all of this kind of thinking. And the question becomes, how do I stay connected to myself when these real life situations, these real life things, especially all the things that come up during the summer, when they come up? Not how do I stay connected to myself, not in ideal conditions, but in the real ones? Before we get into a tool that I want to teach you today, let's talk for just a minute about why these moments, why vacation, why this freedom or this, less structured environment can make drinking less feel harder. Your habits are connected to cues, and your brain learns patterns through repetition. And those patterns get linked to places, time, people, feelings. So, for example, if you often drink when you start cooking dinner, your brain starts to associate that time of day and that activity with alcohol, right? It's not just the drink, it's the whole little ritual around it. And vacation changes some of those cues, which can actually be helpful, like in that scenario. Sometimes being away from your normal routine gives you a chance to do things differently, but vacation also can create new cues. Maybe it's that first dinner out. Maybe it's the deck outside of your rental house that looks out over a lake. Maybe it's simply the feeling of being away from your regular responsibility. And then your brain says, this is what we do here. We relax. We have freedom. We don't have to pay attention to the intentional choices that we make at home. Now, that doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. It means your brain is doing what brains do, right? Looks for familiar rewards, patterns, and easy relief. The problem is that when you don't decide ahead of time, the decision often gets handed to the version of you who is least equipped to make it. And you know what I mean by that, right? The version of you who is already tired, already hungry, already overstimulated, already thinking, well, it's vacation. It's okay. That version of you may not be the best planner. And I say that with so much compassion because I know that version of me very well. And for years, I'll just see how it goes, sounded relaxed and flexible. It sounded like I was being easygoing. But a lot of the time, I'll just see how it goes really meant I'm not going to decide until my desire is louder than my commitment. And when I say it that way, it's pretty clear why that wasn't working. So this is where I want to bring you to the framework that I talk about inside of Alcohol Minimalist, and it's called Ideal and For Real. I love this framework because it speaks directly to the kind of all or nothing thinking that shows up around vacations, weekends, and disrupted routines. Your ideal plan is what you would love to do under easy, predictable, common circumstances, your usual typical routine. And we need ideal plans. They give us direction. They help us see what we're aiming for. They let us name what we really want. But sometimes people create an ideal plan and then treat it like the only plan that counts. So when vacation happens and the ideal plan doesn't fit, the brain says, well, I guess we're not doing a plan. And this is where a for real plan comes in. For real asks, given the actual situation I'm in, what can I do that still supports me? That's it. It's not quitting on yourself. It's not lowering the bar until nothing matters. It's also not pretending that vacation is the same as just a normal Tuesday at home. It's just honest. It says, okay, here's real life. Here's the trip. Here's the people. Here's the schedule. What is the plan that still keeps me connected to myself? I think this is so important because the goal is not a perfect vacation. It is a connected vacation. And a connected vacation can look different than your regular routine. Maybe at home, your ideal is a 2-drink maximum. And on vacation, maybe your for real plan is still 2, or maybe it's different. The number itself is not the point I want to make here. The point is that you decide on purpose from a clear brain before the moment arrives. That's what creates self-trust. It's not that you always choose the strictest option. It's that you are honest with yourself and you make a decision that considers more than the next 10 minutes. Because vacation is not only the drink at sunset. Vacation is also the next morning. It's the hike, it's the breakfast, it's the conversation you want to remember. Your future self is a part of vacation too. So when you create your for real plan, I want you to think less about rules and more about support. What would support you enough that you can make choices you actually want to make? For a lot of people, the answer starts with really basic things. And I know basic doesn't sound exciting, but basic works. Sleep matters. Maybe your sleep won't be perfect, but if you already know that drinking late really messes with you, then that's useful information. You can make a for real plan that protects tomorrow morning a little bit. Food matters too. I don't know about you, but my brain does not make its most thoughtful decisions when I am over hungry and surrounded by potato chips. So maybe the plan is simply, I'm going to eat before I drink. That one sentence can do a lot. And of course, there's hydration, which sounds almost too obvious to mention, except that summer has a way of making dehydration feel like a personality change. You're hot, you're tired, you want something cold, and your brain says, a drink sounds good. Maybe it does, but maybe you also need water and something in your hand that feels like a real option. This is one of those small things that really makes a difference. Don't make your alcohol-free option feel like a punishment. Put something you actually like in the cooler. Give yourself a drink that feels good to hold. Set yourself up for success. I say it all the time. And then, of course, there is the actual alcohol plan. And this is where I want you to be specific, but not rigid. Specific and rigid are not the same thing. Rigid says, if I don't do this perfectly, I failed. Specific says, I am deciding ahead of time because I want to support myself. So instead of saying, I'll try to drink less, which is vague enough that your brain can negotiate with it all day long, ask yourself for what a for real plan actually is. Maybe you decide you'll drink only with dinner. Maybe you decide to eat first and then choose. Maybe you decide that the first drink will not be automatic. Again, the exact plan is yours. What matters is that the plan is made by the part of you that cares about your whole experience, that cares about your long-term goals, and is not just the part of you that wants immediate rewards. That's the difference between planning and restriction. Restriction says, I don't get to. Planning says, I am choosing what helps me. And that is very different energy. Now, before we keep going, this is a good place to remind you that tracking matters, especially when you're out of your normal routine. Vacation drinking can get blurry quickly because time and pores are often less structured. Whether you use a notebook, a notes app, or a mindful drinking app like Sunnyside, having accurate information helps you make conscious choices instead of relying on vacation memory. Hey, it's Molly, and I'm here to talk to you about Sunnyside Med. That's right, Sunnyside has a new program that they've been offering that includes medication that can quiet alcohol cravings. It's called naltrexone, and it works by making alcohol less rewarding in your brain. And Sunnyside now offers access to naltrexone 100% online and combined with personalized care. Thousands of people have already joined Sunnyside Med and are cutting their drinking nearly in half. Sunnyside Med doesn't just give you a pill. It is a whole support system to help you reach your goals. I really want you to check it out, so visit sunnyside.co/minimalist to learn more and see if you qualify today. Okay, let's come back to vacation brain because there is one thought that I really want you to watch for. I'll get back on track when I get home. That sounds reasonable, right? And to be fair, sometimes your normal routine really will be easier when you get home. Of course it will. Home has structure built in. But the problem with I'll get back on track when I get home is that it can quietly give you permission to disconnect from yourself right now. And I think that phrase on track can be tricky anyway, because it makes life sound like a narrow little path that you're either on or off. And I don't really think that's how real change works. The goal is not to be perfect and to be perfectly on track on vacation. The goal is not to abandon yourself. And that's different. Not abandoning yourself means you still care about how you feel. You still care about your sleep. You still care about your relationship with alcohol. And that's not deprivation. That is just self-respect. So when your brain says, I'll get back on track when I get home, you can answer very simply, I can stay connected to myself here. That's enough. You don't need a 20-minute debate with your own brain. You don't need to write a dissertation about your drinking goals. You just need a sentence that brings you back to yourself. I can stay connected to myself here. And that thought is powerful because it reminds you that vacation counts, not in a heavy way, not in a you better not mess this up kind of way. Vacation counts because your body comes with you. Your brain comes with you. Your self-trust comes with you. And I actually think that's freeing because it means you don't have to choose between enjoying yourself and taking care of yourself. You can do both. Now let's talk for a moment about the social part, because this is where vacation drinking can feel emotionally loaded. Sometimes no one is pressuring you directly. No one is saying, come on, have another. But the whole situation has an expectation built into it. Maybe everyone is sitting around with a drink, and choosing something different feels more noticeable than it actually is. This is where I think simple is best. You do not need a speech. You do not need to explain your whole relationship with alcohol. You do not need to convince anyone that your choice is valid. I'm good for now is a complete sentence. And truly, most of the time, that is enough. The point is not to control what other people think. The point is to give yourself a way to get through the moment without turning your choice into a negotiation. And here's something I really want you to remember. Connection does not require consumption. You can be part of the conversation without matching people drink for drink. You can enjoy the meal, the sunset, the campfire, the game, whatever the moment is, without alcohol being the thing that proves you belong there. Now, your brain may still feel a little bit awkward, and that's okay. Sometimes awkwardness is just what it feels like to practice a new identity in an old environment. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're doing something new. So before we wrap up, I want to bring this back to something very practical. Before your next trip or even before a loose summer weekend, take 5 minutes to ask yourself, what kind of experience do I actually want to have? Start there, not with the alcohol, but start with the experience. Do you want to feel rested? Do you want to feel connected? Do you want to come home proud of how you handled yourself? Whatever it is, name it. Then ask, what would my ideal plan be if everything was easy? And right after that, what is my for real plan given what's actually happening? That's the plan you want to carry with you. Not because it will be perfect, not because vacations need to be managed within an inch of your life, but because for real plans help you stay with yourself. And that is the whole point. A peaceful relationship with alcohol does not mean you only know how to drink less when life is predictable. It means you know how to stay connected to yourself when life gets a little looser. Vacation is not a test that you pass or fail. It's just a place to practice. You are practicing deciding ahead of time. You are practicing being around alcohol without automatically drinking. You're practicing choosing for tomorrow morning too. And like any practice, it might not be perfect. If you drink more than you planned, you don't need to turn the whole trip into drama. You can use that 24-hour reset that we talked about last week. You can stabilize. You can evaluate. You can make one next best thought, next best action, and keep going. That's what we do. We don't use vacation as an excuse to abandon ourselves, and we don't use imperfection as a reason to quit. We practice. You can be relaxed and intentional. You can be flexible and honest. you can enjoy yourself and still protect your peace. That is the heart of being an alcohol minimalist. All right, that's all I have for you this week, my friends. Until next time, choose peace, and I will see you on Thursday. Thanks for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Take something you learned from this week's episode and put it into action. Changing your drinking habits and creating a peaceful relationship with alcohol is 100% possible. You can stop worrying, stop feeling guilty about overdrinking, and become someone who desires alcohol less. I work with people in 2 different ways, and you can learn about them over at my website. Go to www.mollywatts.com/workwithme or reach out to me directly. Shoot me an email, molly@mollywatts.com. We'll jump on a call and decide what might work best for you. This podcast is really just the beginning of our conversation. Let's keep it going. If there's one thing I know, it's that change is way easier when you stop trying to do it alone.